The first step is actually identifying what they're asking for, which might sound obvious, but a lot of people use their resume as an opportunity to just kind of career dump. Here's everything that I've done. And I would say that's a surefire way to get your resume just thrown out immediately because it's too much. It's too overwhelming and it's not tailored.
Welcome back to Answer the Call, where we help Christians discern their callings and practically land a job that's aligned with it, even in this job market where, guys, can I just say, my friend absolutely kicked me in the butt and was like, why aren't you on LinkedIn? Exactly 6 days ago. And ever since then, I have been out there on those streets on LinkedIn, and I'm seeing all the advice that you're probably seeing as a job seeker. And I realize that there are clear and obvious mistakes that I would love to spare you from. And I said, Audrey, I just did an audit of our entire podcast, and we literally have like 100 episodes on calling and faith things, probably another 100 on faith things, and we literally have one episode on resumes. So I just wanted to go on the record and say this month, you're going to be like, who are these girls? They're resume experts. Because we actually have written more than we could count and would like to help you today with how to write incredibly effective bullet points, cut the fluff, and remove all of the things that are keeping you unemployed or without the job you want, to be honest. So my dear Audrey has prepared this episode. And so for once, you're going to hear more of her voice than mine.
Wow.
Queen, are you ready? Let's go.
I'm ready. Yeah, I think starting with the resume bullet points was what was really sticking out to me when I was just researching resumes in general and trying to see what's going on out there right now. Because I feel like we focus so much on format and the perfect place to put everything. And people get a little too focused on that. And then when it comes to the bullet points, which is not arguably the most important, it is the most important. In my opinion, unless you have a really bad layout, then I guess that's probably more important. But
that would be a showstopper.
Yes. What you're actually saying and how you're actually conveying your value. So, bullet points are the single most important part of your resume. I'm going to say that loud and clear, and they really do make the difference of landing in the, like, not getting in the pile at all or getting an interview. Mm-hmm. So, what do you say in the bullet points? So we're going to show you today the simple process to actually write really effective bullet points that prove your values and match what employers want and actually stand out in the seconds. You've probably heard it, 6 seconds to look at a resume. That's the stat that's always thrown out there. And I do want to call out the amazing resources that I really leaned on when putting all of this together. In addition to the resumes that we've done and we've put together, we have learned so much from Gaurav and Katie at Career Sprout.
Obsessed with them.
Geniuses. Thank you for everything that you put out there.
They've I was like, wait, are you using Jesus as an explicative or as
no. Geniuses?
Oh wow, I definitely think Jesus.
Let's clear that up real quick.
Yeah, no, definitely did not.
Yeah, and then Austin Belcak at Cultivated Culture, also a genius.
He is a resume king and also developed a tool, resi.io. And I think he has separate tools now. He has like a resume builder and then a bullet builder, I think specifically. So I think those are good resources, albeit that you do have to pay for them after a short amount of time. So I really want to stand up for your ability to also write your resume yourself. Yes. I believe in you, listener.
Yeah.
I really believe in you. So use this formula that we are about to share, as well as examples to compare with the way that your resume bullets are currently written. So you could whip those back up into shape and get back out there so you could get some interviews.
Yes. So an overview of how we're going to talk about everything, how we're going to go through everything. First, identifying what they're actually asking for in the job description, then identifying your relevant experience, and then the actual formula for creating great resume bullet points, balancing skills, action words, results, and common words within the bullet point. And then we're actually going to take you through a live example of us doing this together. Well, we've already done it, but we'll take you through the work that we did. And we were working on it right before this, and we had some good discussions around what actually matters in a bullet point. So I'm excited to share that with everyone.
That's right. And listener, if you were like screaming, crying, throwing up, I do not want to look at my resume, and I would much rather blindly put it through ChatGPT or whatever the resume builders are out there right now. I really want to encourage you that even if it makes you so intimidated to dive into building an excellent resume, after you do this once, you're really just topping off your experience one little bit at a time every job hunt after this. I do think that these tools that we're going to share are somewhat timeless. And this is, if this is like one intimidating Saturday of your life, diving in and taking a cold hard look at your resume, I just want to encourage you, like, it's so worth it. And this is basically interview prep
Mm-hmm.
as well, because the metrics you pull out and the results and outcomes that you realize you drove through the responsibilities you held are the stories you will tell in your interview. So this is actually going to mean so much, and it's worth your time. So
Mm-hmm.
I just say that because a lot of people are a little nervous to dive into it.
Yeah. Go to a coffee shop and get yourself a latte.
Make
As
it
you
cute.
speak. Yes, absolutely. So the first step is actually identifying what they're asking for, which might sound obvious, but a lot of people use their resume as an opportunity to just kind of career dump. Here's everything that I've done. And I would say that's a surefire way to get your resume just thrown out immediately because it's too much, it's too overwhelming, and it's not tailored. So, in order to tailor it, I want you to actually identify what they're looking for by having consistent job descriptions, reading, studying, and understanding them first and foremost. And then going to ChatGPT, you're going to hear us talk about chat a lot as, and I'll probably give this disclaimer later as well, chat as a tool here, not as the end all be all, going to do everything for you. It's something that you're collaborating with. So,
Exactly. It is not your resume writer. Us, along with anyone else, can point those out right away, and you will not get interviews with that resume.
mm-hmm,
It is so obvious what people or which candidates copy and paste from ChatGPT. You're really not being sneaky at all by doing that, versus the ones that may, but we can't really tell, have used it as a feedback partner in an ideation tool, not and potentially not even copying and pasting whatsoever, just bouncing off thoughts and then still using your own intellect and human language
mm-hmm.
to describe your real experience with no lies.
Yeah, and that'll give you so much confidence too, because
Yeah,
I've like truthfully fallen into the trap of, oh, let me use ChatGPT to create this something that I'm going to use. Maybe it's a podcast outline. Maybe it's, yeah, we'll just go with podcast outline. And then we actually get to record the podcast. I'm like, oh my gosh, what does this say? Because I didn't actually do the work to put it together. And versus a day like today where I spend a lot of time on the podcast outline, it's like, okay, let's get to it. And I definitely use chat. As you can see, we're going to be using it throughout this process. But it's such a confidence booster when you really do the effort on your, or the actual output is from your effort, and you use chat as a collaboration along the way. So in
Mhm.
this first step of identifying what they're asking for, how I want you to use ChatGPT after you've already read everything, identified, um, studied it, and you understand what they're looking for, I want you to paste those into ChatGPT, pasting the text, and just ask, what are the most frequent key responsibilities across these job postings? Another way that you can ask that is, what are the core responsibilities typically required for this job? I like the first question better because I wanted to actually pull from the specific job postings that you have in there, but maybe ask both those questions and compare and contrast the results that you get from it. And it'll pump out, I mean, you can ask for 10 to 15 responsibilities and it'll come out with those right away. And then you're done identifying what they're asking for. Anything to add there, Kelsey?
Yeah, I if you one, I think it could also be worth the work to just open up a spreadsheet and paste in every single bullet point of what the job descriptions say that they're looking for in terms of your capabilities. and create a huge master list. And you can use, of course, ChatGPT to reduce that down, to remove redundancies and really get the top 15 responsibilities that you really need to demonstrate that you could hold. But I do think that, it can be confidence boosting to do that yourself as well. And then you would take that spreadsheet, and in the second column next to each of the responsibilities that are highlighted in your ideal job descriptions, which, by the way, always go for a singular goal on what your next ideal position is. That should probably be the unofficial first step. If you are creating, if you're scattered, it's going to come across. Don't half but two things, whole but one thing, if you know what I'm saying. So, in the second column, you try to force yourself to write out a bullet point that speaks to your experience that matches what they're looking for. And of course, there's going to be a few, or maybe even plenty, that you're like, I genuinely have never done this in my life. Move on and feel good about it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's relatable. Do what you can, move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's great, like you said earlier, to use for interview prep as well. And actually, perfectly segues into our next tip, identifying what relevant experience you have.
Mhm.
So do that, what Kelsey just said. And I also want you to think about each of these experiences you have that are relevant to what they're asking for and the core responsibilities and 3 layers. This can be a helpful way to break it down, thinking about it in scope, responsibilities, and accomplishments. Scope being the size or scale of your role. So thinking about teams, budgets, money you brought in, how many people were involved, projects, all of those kinds of things. Next, responsibilities, kind of what we were just saying, matching like what they're asking for, the core responsibilities from the job description to what you've done in the past. And then accomplishments are different from that because those are the outcomes, the measurable outcomes that you delivered. You can showcase that with proof with those metrics. So those are the 3 different layers that I want you to think about, listener, when you are identifying the relevant experience that you do have. Next tip is the formula for great resume bullet points. And I believe this was a Google employee who
Yeah, I
came
think
up
it's
with it.
called like the Google Recruiter format or something. I don't know. I think it was popularized by Google. So you're right on that.
Yeah, the XYZ formula. So accomplished X as measured by Y, resulting in Z. There's another format that I heard recently, RAC, RAC, result, action, context. So maybe that can help
Switch it up, use both.
use both. We were talking before recording how, yes, there are formulas, yes, there are guidelines, but also be a human. And it's okay if they differ from bullet point to bullet point. That's actually probably really good. Yeah, so that's the formula. We also recommend keeping the bullet points concise. So 12 to 20 words or 85 to 120 characters. You can have 22 words, that's fine. You'll see later on we have an example of 22 words, and I think it's pretty good. But that 12 to 20 is a good range to target.
Yeah. And don't say more than you need to say. Like, let some bullet points be 12 words or less if
Yeah.
that fits the bill.
I am so guilty of that on past resume. I loved to write a story. I'm like, I delivered this by doing this and engaging these people and tying it all together. Start a blog. Your resume is not your blog.
Or save it for the interview.
Save it for the interview because those kinds of stories are so impactful in an interview, how you can connect all the dots. Or your resume summary, which we'll talk about at another time. Maybe there's some more room for it in there. Not the bullet points. The bullet points, straight to the point.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are balancing or looking at these bullet points and these 12 to 20 words that you have, how you want to use those words. This is tip 4. So balancing skills, action words, results, and the common words. There's 4 different elements. And Kelsey, I'm going to use the percentages.
Okay. Trigger warning. I was like, Audrey, I think that these are really could be overwhelming, but actually, no, I stand by you in this moment, my queen.
Thank
Do
you.
it.
So, for those of you who like some numbers to anchor you, this is taken from Cultivated Culture by Austin Belcak. He has done awesome research on this and really takes a sales mindset to his resume writing. And I really recommend you check out all of his resources. What he says: 35% skills, the words that you're using, 35% of them should be skills focused. So, instructional design, project management, analysis, all those kinds of things. 15% should be action words, 15% should be measurable results, and then 35% common words. So that's used to keep things readable, but not adding any fluff. That really helped me out when I saw that, because I'm like, oh, not every single word has to be an action word. We're actually looking for about 15%. That's great. And you can use that later in the examples when we are talking through how to use ChatGPT, asking for feedback. I used it when I was going through this a little bit. For the sake of delivering this podcast, we'll leave the numbers here for now because it's going to be too convoluted to be like, oh, it was 36 instead of 35. No,
Yeah. Also,
that's
you
too
could
much.
really just replay that bit and take those numbers and put it into chat as a, hey, can you give me feedback based on these metrics?
Yeah.
How, like, what are my percentages?
Yes.
And can you get me closer to these numbers? I think it's more of a that's helpful for a robot
Mm-hmm.
or somebody that thinks like Audrey. No offense, I was not trying to call you a robot.
No,
My artist brain is like,
I take it as a compliment. That's it for the initial tips. We're going to spend the rest
yeah.
of the time going through the live example. Do you have anything else, Kelsey, you want to add on the tips?
No, I don't think so. I'm just really excited to share some examples of what XYZ framework sounds like.
Yes. Yeah. So, the live example that we're using, I just took a bullet point from an old resume that I had worked with, and we built it out from there. So, the job title we're going to be talking about is a curriculum designer for adult learners. Step one, as we already identified in tip one, is identifying what they're asking for. So, across these kinds of jobs, they are asking for curriculum design, evaluation and reporting, and cross development collaboration were some of the key themes that we pulled out. And a
Cross
sample,
department, right? Cross department collaboration.
yes, what did I say?
Okay. Development.
Oh, cross department collaboration. Thank you. Um, a sample key responsibility would be, like, you could find this on a job description: develop instructional materials tailored to diverse adult learners, preparing for high school equivalency exams, incorporating reporting and cross-department collaboration to improve student engagement and outcomes. That's it. That's step one for what we have for this live example. Anything to add, Kelsey?
Yeah, realistically, I think you might fill out like 10 cells in a spreadsheet if you're really using, and just to underscore your very first point of use the job description as your base material for your resume, not just your career history.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't need to necessarily know about your restaurant or babysitting experience if you're now trying to be a product marketer.
Mm-hmm.
And so try to um, relate every single, or if you start with, okay, here are the 10 skills that I'm trying to highlight on my resume. Where can I plug those in under each of the job titles I've had? Hopefully, the ones that are most relevant, not going unnecessarily far back, like to high school or college, if it doesn't make sense, depending on where you're at. We serve a lot of senior level professionals where that definitely doesn't make sense. And then when you generally say, okay, I think that I could plug these three skills under this job and these three under this job, then you start filling it out. So that's an example of using the job description as your source material, not just starting with a word dump of everything you've done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we get to this point where, you've evaluated the job description, you just gave 3 bullets, realistically, somebody might have more. But using those 3 core responsibilities that they're looking for, now we're going to move into the example of what is it next? Like, we're going to share maybe an original wordy bullet and
Mm-hmm.
tailor it down.
Yeah. And before we jump into that, I want to talk about the scope, responsibilities, accomplishment. So in this case, scope might be how many people are you teaching or did you teach or are taught by the curriculum that you designed? How long is the course? Those could be two things for scope. Responsibilities could include you've designed curriculum, maintained and produced reporting, or collaborated with other departments. And then accomplishment could be measured in things like pass rate and retention. So the wordy bullet point, buckle up here. Developed engaging actually before I jump into that, right now we're going to do a bullet point audit. That's what I'm calling this, kind of assessing what you have already and seeing how we can make it better based on the work that we've already done in steps 1 and 2. Step 3, bullet point audit. Here's the original bullet point. Developed engaging instructional material tailored to the needs of 15 to 25 learners seeking high school equivalency by coordinating educational content across departments and incorporating current technology into instruction, enhancing overall engagement and learning outcomes. That's a mouthful. Let's see what we can do about it. So the first thing that I want you to do is put it into ChatGPT and ask or request, write this bullet point to be a more outcomes focused bullet point, or just more outcomes focused. And immediately what I got, it's still pretty wordy, but already an improvement. Increased learner engagement and improved pass rates by developing instructional materials tailored to 15 to 25 high school equivalency students, integrating cross-departmental content and current technology into instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Boom, baby.
That's round 1.
If you're doing this without ChatGPT, you would just ask yourself, when holding this responsibility, what would be the best evidence that I did a great job?
Mm-hmm.
What would happen as a result of me doing a great job? You might naturally on your own come up with increased retention within the course and better pass rates in exam scores. And then you just go from there. So just defending critical thinking, that's how you would do it. But
yes,
Chat Daddy is a shortcut.
Yeah. And if you want to use, and I would highly recommend, the resibullet.io tool, keep in mind you only get 7 free credits on it before there's a paid option. So use them wisely. But I would definitely recommend seeing what it comes back with, because it'll give you all those stats that I talked about earlier with the different percentages. Basically, when I put this one in, it told me it was too wordy, it's missing measurable results, and there's too many common words and not enough skills or action words. So I put it back into ChatGPT and I said, rewrite this bullet point to be less wordy, use more measurable results, and fewer common words. And this is what it came back with. Designed and delivered curriculum for 15 to 25 learners, integrating technology and cross-department collaboration, increasing retention by 25% and exam pass rates by 15%. A quick note on the percentages that just came out. This is a sample. I don't have the actual metrics, right? And this is probably number 1 question when we start getting to the resume stuff, even just interviews. Oh, I don't have exact metrics. You have permission to ballpark within reason.
Within reason.
Within reason. And
but you are just going to have to ballpark. It's better to ballpark than to say, I wormed a seat doing this responsibility and have nothing to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you have something to show for it. Please give us a rough estimate of what your results or outcomes were as a result of carrying out that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You could also email, hopefully you still have a bud at your last companies, or see, hey, is there any way that you could go back and like give me a rough sense of this metric and this metric? Or I'm thinking it was around 25%. What does your gut say on that? I want to report truthfully in the interviews I have coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You can also, in your current situation, I think that this might be the biggest takeaway, is start measuring things yourself. Every couple of weeks, I had a former mentor that said every 6 weeks, write down what you accomplished in the last 6 weeks of your job. And so you will be able to have accurate reporting. And this isn't just for your future interviews, it's for your quality as a professional now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the difference between an A player and a B through D player is you care about producing measurable outcomes in exchange for your salary. Like my parents taught me, hey, if they're paying you, let's say 100, you better be giving them 200 or more in bottom line value, however you could possibly measure that in your position, because I know that there's profit centers and cost centers of business, so maybe you should be saving them 200,000 or driving 200,000 in revenue. And that's an aspirational goal, but I think that like really good hearted professionals will want to try their best with God's grace and help to get closer to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I want to break down that bullet point too with the what I had talked about with the skills, action words, measurable results, and common words. So in that bullet point, I'm going to read it again to refresh. Design and delivered curriculum for 15 to 25 learners, integrating technology and cross-department collaboration, increasing retention by 25%, and exam pass rate by 15%. The skills that are in that: instructional design, facilitation or delivering the curriculum, digital literacy, collaboration, curriculum alignment. Action words: designed, delivered, integrating, collaboration, increasing. Measurable results, those ones are pretty obvious: 25% retention, 15% pass rates. We already talked about finding those metrics. And then fewer common words, we replaced the phrase overall engagement with those specific outcomes. Okay. And then we're going back to chat again to see if we can get it even better. Because right now, what I just read to you, that is in the XYZ format. Achieved X as measured by Y, resulting in Z. My ChatGPT is probably so trained at this point, and yours might not be. So I would recommend that whatever you came back with, look at it yourself, see if put it into that XYZ format, and then also see what Chat has to say, and if it gives you any other ideas. So you can just ask it to put it in the format of accomplished X as measured by Y, resulting in Z. Make it as close to 12 to 20 words as possible. The one that we have, like I mentioned earlier, is 22 words, which is close enough to that range. But if you did feel the need to make it even more concise, here's an option after I put that into chat. Design a 20 module curriculum for 15 to 25 learners, boosting retention 25% and raising exam pass rates 15%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one extra way to humanize that, and this would be the difference between a full chat written resume versus a real resume that will get interviews, is you say what kind of curriculum you made, or what exact like e-learning platform you built this through. Add some, I often tell clients to think of it as add one capital letter in the middle of any bullet point. Not, you don't have to do it every time, but it's a good rule of thumb to say, oh, can I say that, when I was back in technology consulting, that I managed 8 quality assurance engineers creating user stories through Jira. Wait, those were like 2 separate things. User stories is for development, quality assurance is different, but or like what tool did I use? What software? What topic did I teach it on? What school did I teach? Or what school system? Because like the school you taught at in this potential example is going to be under your title for this section of your professional experience. But can you say like for all of like I collaborated with teachers in all of AISD or something like that? That's another like an acronym or a capitalized word that adds something that ChatGPT cannot, and that shows that you are being real and not lying.
Mm-hmm.
The human touch.
Yeah, and for those cases where there's just not a metric, there's not a measurable outcome, I think that's a good
Replacement, maybe.
replacement. Yeah. It's the context. It's adding context with those capital letters. I like that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, just one last thing. If you absolutely, with like, if your life was on the line and you still just could not add a metric, move on and feel good about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Please don't put, I, because sometimes the metrics are also so small that they're not worth adding. If you're like, I did two of this thing, move on and feel good about it. Like, let's not try to polish something that's like never going to be the asset of that bullet point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've reached our final bullet point. Two options, shorter option and a little bit longer of an option. So that's the end of our live example. And I just want to say that the main thing to keep in mind is getting recruiters to see your value immediately by having these bullet points that are specific, tailored, and measurable, as we just discussed in different ways. But there are a couple different stylistic options that you can play with. Our resume writer, Tim, does something that you and I both love, which is he takes out the top skill and puts it at the beginning of the bullet point and then a colon afterwards. And he actually bolds it. So it,
I like the bolding.
yeah, it immediately, like you're saying, in those 6 seconds, the recruiter is seeing all these keywords and skills and then seeing the context behind that with the bullet point that follows. So
Yeah.
there are stylistic options here that are really great and I encourage you to look into. But again, that key takeaway is focus on skills, actions, measurable results, and tailor these to the job posting, the kind of job that you're going for.
Yay. Last things is order and what you actually remove. I touched a little bit on what to remove, but if you, I'll say first on the order of your bullet points, it's not rocket science. Most relevant, most juicy accomplishment goes at the top of each of your jobs in your professional experience section. And as they get less relevant or less juicy, maybe try to hide those in the middle and maybe have another strong closer at the end. Because our eyes naturally go to the beginning and end. And then if you are looking at one of your past jobs and you're like, this genuinely does not have anything relevant to the new job that I'm going for, first off, ask ChatGPT if that's really true or if there's some other things that you could highlight. I also like just talking it back and forth with ChatGPT rather than writing out, like maybe just free flow. And if you think, oh, I don't have the perfect prompt or question to ask it, maybe just try talking for a while and it might pull out something helpful. I found that recently. So maybe that's not true. Maybe you actually can find something translatable about the skills you used in that old job. But if genuinely you feel like nothing is really relevant, if the job is way, way back ago, like 7 to 10 years, 10 years or more. I mean, depending on if you're a senior level professional, I would say 15 years or more back. Just include one bullet point that's a summary of what you accomplished there and maybe two. And then, or like awards that you got in those jobs can also be a relevant thing to add. And then, if it is, let's say your second to last job does not have something relevant to add, please just focus on what you did accomplish there. And you're like, okay, I'm going into software engineering, but I was a teacher before. Some people have been there. Then just say, I'm going to put 3 bullet points, 2 or 3 bullet points under that listing in my professional experience. And they're not going to be perfectly relevant, but I'm going to show that I delivered results, that I am the kind of professional that is metric minded, ambitious, hungry, smart, humble. And that's the best you could do.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that wasn't too much of, like I say, a word salad, but is there anything that you would like to round out that topic, Audrey?
I would just round out this whole conversation by touching on what we touched on in the beginning. ChatGPT is your tool here, not doing everything for you. I wrote it out in the notes. ChatGPT regurgitated resumes are so obvious and they suck. To put
I
it plainly.
will come for you in your nightmares if you put an M dash in your resume.
Get out, get out. But
And also be skeptical of resume writers, I would say.
mhm.
Ironically, we write our clients' resumes 100%. We take that off their plate. But Audrey, you were the one that sourced Tim, and you went through, I don't even know how many portfolios.
It was crazy.
And it's not an exaggeration to say the vast majority all looked and sounded the exact same because they were written by the same entity,
Mhm.
i.e., an LLM chat.
Yeah, it was actually crazy. So all of the summaries looked the same, and I could point it out because I had been writing our resumes and I had been using chat as a tool. So I knew what chat came out with. And I was like, I've seen that before. And then I've seen it on the next resume and the next resume and the next resume. And these resume samples that they were sending over, not their resumes. So the ones that they were producing. So I would absolutely back you on that. Be careful of the resume writers that you're going to and go to Tim instead. Yeah,
Guys, we're here. Because, I just kind of fear that a lot of job seekers, they obviously don't have your experience, Audrey, and can't really tell the difference or think like, oh, this is a reputable, good person to go to, or oh, it's like such a deal. But their resumes might really be hurting you because any recruiter is going to be able to spot that and immediately mark you as not trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And to clarify, you were using, like we say, ChatGPT when you were writing resumes before Tim as a tool, not actually as the writer.
Mm-hmm.
You would always just use it as an ideator, but then write it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that point can be overstated, but I do fear that I am trying my best to overstate the point. So I should probably give myself a little yellow flag and stop.
Time to wrap up.
It's time to wrap up. Guys, please reach out if you need any help. We are here. Our clients, even in a tough job market, have continued to have amazing wins this summer. Like, go back to some of our podcast episodes. I do believe that we can help people beat the odds, and we want to help you. So it's a free, no obligation consultation to talk with me. And my calendar has a record number of bookings this week, but I have some openings next week if y'all want to chat. Go to thecultcareer.com and check out our services so you stop DIYing and actually get somebody who could give you feedback, who has seen over 400 people through this process.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to today's episode. To get an even more meaningful head start into your calling, head to thecultcareer.com, where my fellow career coach Audrey and I have created a whole suite of free resources and tools to help you get clear and get a job today. For those who are definitely ready to land a job or start a business in the next 6 to 12 months, we're here to help you biblically and practically discern your calling through coaching, reflection, and deep market research. Identify the job that's aligned with it, even if you currently have no idea what you want. Rebrand your resume and LinkedIn to translate your background to appeal to your future boss. P.S. We take this off your plate and do this for you. Also, we'll teach you how to land referrals and get attention from leadership through networking. Again, if that makes you nervous, we have these emails and LinkedIn messages literally written for you so you don't have to sweat. We're also here to give you unlimited interview practice so you're prepared to address every elephant in the room and knock selling yourself out of the park. Then we'll round out with helping you negotiate your salary so you land thousands more. Just so you know, recent clients have gotten $8,000 to $50,000 salary increases, even though they were totally non-traditional candidates. That's because we specialize in helping non-traditional career pivoters land jobs they're ecstatic to serve in. It takes work, but we're here to see you through until the end, when we're celebrating that day that you send me an email in all caps and you say, Kelsey, I got the job. Then you could be on the podcast. But I'll be here until then, keeping you accountable and encouraged by meeting with you literally until you land the job you want, even if that's up to 6 months from now within our program. Apply to join at thecalledcareer.com, and I'll see you next week here at Answer the Call. Bye for now.